Hello, world. Welcome to the 278th Climate Change Emergency Protest out here in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, on the battlefield of Gettysburg. It is March 20th, 2024. This is number 278. Hopefully, my broadcast will be okay because the wind is pretty bad. I'm going to actually have to walk back because I've got to stay out of the wind with the microphone. So this is number 278, March 20th, 2024. Carbon dioxide level on March 15th was at an all-time high at 427.93. So that's a new record. They say 350.org says 350 parts per million is safe. It is not. 280 parts per million and below is safe. Basically 300 below is safe. So it's 350.org is way off the mark. What that can lead to is feedback loops, and eventually you end up in the same situation that we're in now. We're in the middle of climate change, and we're seeing the repercussions of it worldwide. The USA in 2023 pumped out more oil than any country has in the history of the world. And we're on pace to do it again this year. This is with our climate change president, supposedly Joe Biden. I've gone over how many different things he's done horrendous concerning climate change as far as pumping out oil and natural gas. So 2023 is the hottest year on record. 2024 is on pace to break that again. And if we keep pumping out oil, we're relegating ourselves to 20 years from now having even worse and worse situation, because usually there's a delay of 20 years, 10 to 20 years to 30 years for the carbon dioxide level and the temperature to catch up. So we're putting ourselves into a hellscape, and we're looking not forward, but we're looking at profit right now rather than trying to save the future generations and actually the generations right now that are living. We're really putting ourselves into extreme jeopardy. 2024 is on pace to break that record for the hottest year on record. January and February this year so far is the hottest months ever for those months. Sea surface temperatures, the hottest ever everywhere. The equator and the tropics and mid-latitudes, everywhere. Basically, the sea surface temperature has been ridiculous. 90% of the atmospheric heat ends up in the oceans, so all this heat we're putting into the atmosphere through greenhouse gas trapping is ending up in the oceans. We're in danger of ecological collapse, a marine ecological collapse. That's what's happening right now with the death of many of the coral reefs, as is the Great Barrier Reef now is suffering immensely. So there's no time to recover, and then they go through another heating event, and which causes coral bleaching. Arctic sea ice or Antarctic sea ice has been the lowest ever last year in 2023. There's no buffer between the sea ice and the glaciers now. So all that warm water is around there. And my guess is instead of snow, sometimes it's raining, which is even worse. The Thwaites Glacier is 4% of all sea level rise right now, as joined with the Pine Island Glacier down in Antarctica. The Thwaites Glacier is 4% of all sea level rise and only growing worse. Greenland right now, with the melting of the ice cap there, it's equal to 5,286 Empire State Buildings in weight per day. 5,286 Empire State Buildings in weight per day. What's happening is you're having a deflating of the top of the glacier as well as a shrinking edges. So it's not only being affected from the sides, it's being affected from the top. And so the elevation is lowering. And what that leads to is instead of snow up high, you end up with a situation where you end up having rain. So the Arctic is affected severely by everything going on. And you have heat to the tropics that once the AMOC shuts down, which is lost the camera. The AMOC is the AMOC is that current which goes around the whole globe basically, but it's also joined by the southern current. But once the AMOC shuts down, you're going to have massive buildup of heat along the tropic regions, the equator, things like that, Mediterranean region, all the way around the world. And instead of that heat being dissipated by going north with the currents, you're going to end up with heat being in mass around the equator area, and it's going to have massive heating. Central America is in big jeopardy at this point. Also, what can lead to is a massive Category 6 hurricane potential. Instead of Category 5, they're going to end up with a hurricane situation where it's actually worse than ever. Heat does not dissipate, and that's the whole problem. And then the hurricanes come along and try to dissipate that heat, and it will. And it'll be massive hurricanes that hit places like Miami and Florida and Texas and here in the United States. So last year, 38 events were over $1 billion each. 38 separate events over $1 billion each. Many were in the tens of billions. It feels like there's a calm right now. It feels like there's a calm, before the storm. Even though stuff is happening around the world, it feels like we're on a road that something very, very bad is right over around the corner. And I'm not looking forward to what's coming, but what can I do? I can give these talks and it's not being listened to for the most part. So a climate change event that's related is war. The Gaza situation, the United States is doing airdrops of food over Gaza twice a day, 4 times a day, whatever. They need to do airdrops every 4 minutes to keep the people from starving to death. Biden has proposed State of the Union, supposedly he did it, a dock that's going to be off the coast of Gaza, and they're going to ship in food that way. This is a fabricated lie, what's going on. The plan is, and Netanyahu came up with this back in October last year, is that the dock will be used to ship out Gazans out of Gaza and cleanse the area, which is a war crime, cleanse the area of all Palestinians out of the area. Yeah, they might bring in food somewhat, but they're going to build an island, my guess is, off the coast, and they're going to start housing the Palestinians there and then ship them out around the world. And it's a diaspora of the culture and the people. So they're what they're going to do is choke off all the inroads into Gaza as they are now, which is a war crime in itself. Water, food, medicine, things like that. Continuing with a war crime, not give anything to them and tell them the only way out is to get on these ships and be shipped all around the world. So all Palestinians are going to be shipped out of Gaza. Gaza is going to be taken over by Israel. This is a war crime. If it's Biden's idea, this is a war crime. All right, Biden is wholesale responsible for it if that's what they use this dock for. If it's Netanyahu's idea, Biden's still a war criminal by going along with it. Okay, these are not by some sort of coincidence that these ideas come about. This is by design. So I think all entrances will be cut off from Gaza, and they're going to force people, as I said. Rafah, the town of Rafah, where there's 1.5 million, 1.7 million, they're attacking the edges already. They're going to go in wholesale and just cleanse them out of there. So negotiations in Egypt or Qatar or wherever they're going to be, it's just worthless. Netanyahu has no intention of backing off on this situation, and he's going to kill every last one of them if they don't leave. There's no push from the USA to stop the weapons. In fact, we're shipping more and more weapons over to Israel while we're dropping food. So this is a war crime in itself, too. Our politicians on both sides, Republicans and Democrats, and Biden and then Trump and Kushner, are wholesale responsible for this genocide. Okay, this is a war crime. The only thing that's stopping this from being said to be a war crime is the United States at the United Nations Security Council votes, where they always say no, they won't pass a resolution saying Israel's committing war crimes. So this is a war crime in itself. They're stopping the issue of whether things are war crimes when obviously they are. The question is, if Trump did this stuff, would everyone be up in arms? Oh, yeah, probably. But, right now it's the Democrats and Republicans are going along with it. It is Biden and Trump and Jared Kushner going along with this. So the war crimes and the genocide so far has added up to 32,000 dead. My guess it's more like 42,000 because you have a lot of people that were buried alive when they blow up these buildings. You have 74,000 injured. So you're talking 110,000, 120,000 people that have been injured and affected by this situation. If you're the equivalents in the United States, this would be all of New York State, 19 million people would be the equivalents of how many people are killed. All of New York, or the Deep South, Alabama, Mississippi, all those states down there. That would be equal to all the people, all the residents down there would be killed. Or the upper Midwest, Montana, Wyoming, places like that, Nebraska, Iowa, would be death. So what I'm saying is that this is a huge amount of deaths for Gaza. I mean, they don't know. Everybody knows someone who's died or been injured in the attack, or is starving to death, or is dying of lack of medicine or good water, things like that. So nobody cares. Here in this area, I don't hear any talk about it. I've been putting these up for months now since this thing started back in October, and nobody cares. Nobody wants to talk about it. My guess is the churches here aren't talking about it because I see no push anywhere. I see nothing on Facebook about it as to what's happening. No protests, no nothing, no contacting the Democratic headquarters in town. And this is probably true in your area. No staying in front of Republican headquarters, no contacting Biden, no nothing going on. There's no media coverage on Gaza. You watch the ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox Television in the morning, they're not talking about it, but Al Jazeera TV does, and that's where I recommend you go to. ALJAZEERA, Al Jazeera TV. So right now we're in a situation kind of like the French Revolution where the leaders in charge and everyone else is basically saying let them eat cake, which means let them eat bread. That's all the people care about here. They don't, the politicians, they see the protests that are in New York and Chicago and places, but not here. And they don't care. It doesn't affect them. The vote doesn't matter. You vote, if you're going to vote for Biden or Trump or a Republican or Democrat, any Republican, any Democrat, Biden or Trump, you're basically saying it's okay to commit this genocide. And you, therefore, by contact, by doing that, by voting for these people, are actually a war criminal as well. You're participating in it. It'd be the same thing as the Germans voting for the Nazi party, and people don't understand how the German population allowed that to continue. Well, here we are. We're in the same situation where you're having a Holocaust and you're having a genocide going on, and no one's doing anything to stop it. In fact, people are arguing with me, people we know, arguing that Joe Biden is the one you have to vote for because of Donald Trump. Well, no, these people are psychopaths. They're committing war crimes. They're committing ecocide, which is with all this drilling, both Biden and Trump engaged in massive drilling. And it's an ecocide and a genocide and this wholesale killing of everything you care about and love. So continue on this path. We won't survive this. We're on the wrong road with these policies and we're going to die. And unless we change our paths and change our ways, change our way of thinking, either you need to get out of your parties, Republicans and Democrats, and join a third party, either Green Party or Libertarians or whatever party you want, or go independent. But never, ever vote for these Democrats or Republicans. Again, you are part of this genocide. You are part of this ecocide. You got kids, you got friends, you got family, you got anyone you know and look at, unless you live in a cave by yourself. You're responsible for what's going to happen. Okay. You're not trying to change things. So I'll catch you next week and tough love again. See you later.